we were told here when we were in Hoima, that Dangote alone has built, Dangote is a rich man in Nigeria, has built a refinery, very big refinery. As an individual, some of you have heard of that name. Dangote is a tycoon, very, very wealthy. But some of these resources, like oil, which are supposed to be national, should not be private. They should bless and benefit all the citizens of the country. That is the whole idea of the the sector management. Now, yesterday I shared with you that when we raised some questions, because of the many rumors that were going around with the Uganda Oil Company and with the petroleum, they said it's better for us to avail ourselves for 3 days so that they take us to every place where there is an oil well, and then to the whole region, so that we do not depend on hearsay, so that we understand the sector fully. Because if we don't, as religious leaders, we will not give the necessary guidance to our congregation and then to the rest of Ugandans. And they said, we know that the people trust you more than they trust us. When you speak, the people will listen. For us, they listen, but they are always questioning. So they said, your religious leaders, we will need to ask you to use your influence to help us handle situations that may arise even in the future when you actually have full knowledge of what is going on. So that is how we got into entered a memorandum of understanding. And then from that moment, we've been engaged in several ways, one of which is planting trees. We'll be planting millions of trees all over the country through our structures. Why? Because at the moment, Ugandans use a lot of charcoal. The only means 90% of population is using. Citizens of Uganda, 90% use charcoal, meaning every single day we are cutting trees. And if you look at the numbers of how many forests have been destroyed so far, it's appalling. It is really appalling the rate at which we are destroying our forestry is appalling. So tree planting is one of the major efforts that we are engaging in so that we can use our congregations, each parish, each Muslim place of worship, all of us combined together. That is something that we are leading the campaign to plant trees. Don't take that lightly, because if you look at the hectares that we have destroyed and continue destroying, it is really necessary that all of us will be involved. So that was how we got involved. This particular leg now is because in the oil sector, a pipeline is being built from Hoima region, where the Bunyoro region, where the oil is, and it's being built through 10 districts to Tanzania. Let me first go through this quickly so you have a clear understanding, because this is another area that we need to pray. This oil thing is big if it is well managed, as government has really sought to manage it in such a way that instead of being a curse, it will be a blessing. And I summarized it in a kind of a slide to make it easy for us. And I want to go through that very quickly so you may have the same understanding. The governance structure of the sector, in order for oil not to be a curse, is divided among 4 agencies. One is the Ministry of Finance, which handles the general policies, what we call the fiscal regime. Government formed what they call the Petroleum Authority of Uganda, it handles regulation. It regulates everything that is being done. For example, all the oil companies that come here, Total and others, they have regulations of what to do, what not to do, how you do it. Because oil and gas, its exploration, its production involves emitting a lot of gases that may end up polluting the environment, polluting the land, polluting the soils. This petroleum authority ensures that every oil well is well managed, that there will be no waste, nor will it affect the people around. So they always check. And you had some time back when they closed one of them because it had not put in place the necessary safeguards. Every CNOC, for example, CNOC is the Chinese thing. They have to make sure there are safeguards around when they are drilling. How are they disposing the waste? This waste has to be taken in a place which is safe. They mix other chemicals to ensure that they neutralize the dangerous and poisonous material so that it is neutralized. So we went and saw all these things, all these places where that neutralization takes place, how it is being done, where it is disposed of. It shouldn't be poured into the lake because it will kill all the fish. So the Petroleum Authority handles all such things. And the others is how many Ugandans are employing, how many expatriates are needed in this particular area. Since we do not have the expertise here, then we should have foreigners, but the foreigners should be limited to this percent. All those, such things are regulated by the Petroleum Authority of Uganda. It's independent, it works independently according to the law. They have been empowered. They have authority to stop you, whether you are Total, whether you are Heritage, whether you are Chinese, whether you are whoever is operating and doing their separate entity. And so far, they have been doing a wonderful work of regulation. Regulating is important. A sector as important as this needs to be regulated so that whatever comes in and outside the country is managed properly. Then the Ministry of Energy handles policy issues, investor promotion, licensing. They do that. So there is what finance does, there is what Ministry of Energy does, but then there is the Petroleum Authority, and then there is the Ugandan National Oil Company. Many people don't know about this, but this is a company, private limited company, which is government owned 100%. 51% belongs to Ministry of Energy, and 49% belongs to the Ministry of Finance. So this is the commercial arm of government in as far as this oil sector is concerned. At the moment, they are now the sole importer of all petroleum and gas. So all the petrol and diesel that you are using now in Uganda is solely imported by UNOC. Now UNOC is now importing and selling to Shell, Total, Starbucks, every petrol and diesel that you see, kerosene inclusive, that you see now is being managed or imported by UNOC. Before that, there are so many middlemen. This one buys and sells to this one and sells it. By the time it gets to the consumer, the prices are very high. But now what is happening, that all that profit that used to go to middlemen now is going to Uganda as a nation. And I'll show you how that money is being used. For us as the Interreligious Council, we're very happy because when we listened to all the efforts that have been done, although the process has been long, but it is worth it. It is really worth it because this oil was first discovered in 1920. studies were made all along until in 2006, it was fully established that we had more than 6 billion barrels of oil, and therefore it is commercially viable to drill it and then start operating. So in 2006 is the official time, but government had known earlier, and they had commissioned studies, explorations, but it was the official date was in 2006. We really need to applaud the President Museveni, because as soon as he came in and his government, they said, we know of the oil, but we can't start on it because we don't have the expertise. So some young people were selected and they were sent abroad in different countries, some to the west, some to the east. West here, the Western nations, east are the Russians and what. So we have a variety of people and combinations from both sides who have studied, and they have looked at how these countries have managed their oil industry. For example, one of the best well managed is Holland and a few others, Norway. And so they have studied and really made research how those countries manage to manage theirs. So it helped us a great deal, that because we have seen how many African countries had lost theirs. It was very important that we are slow but sure. I personally agree with that. Slow but sure that the sector is really being managed in a very transparent manner. Okay, so for example, I've just summarized a few here. One of the key issues of our question was that how are we going to benefit when oil comes out of the ground? What are we going to get as Ugandans? So through these calculations are a little bit difficult, but I want you to look at them. When every barrel that comes out of the ground, 67% will come to us in what they call profit oil. Profit oil is the amount of production after deducting the cost and royalty that is divided between the investors and the host government under the production sharing contract. There is a production sharing contract between government and then a company that comes to explore or to engage in oil. So that what you call profit oil means that when you subtract the costs and then the royalty, the remainder government takes 65%. That is the first one. The second is the royalty itself. That every time oil, that oil belongs to Uganda as a nation, as a state, and all the citizens of Uganda. So even if we didn't get the profit oil, we would still get loyalty. Now this happens to all. Not loyalty doesn't only go for oil, but it's all the minerals. Host nations that have oil, minerals, or what, they are paid loyalties. Those loyalties also apply in times where you are a writer. If you write books, there's what they call loyalty. Some of you can research on that. Now, these are fees paid by every investor in exchange for extracting our natural resources that is received in barrels. So 12.5, if you produce 100 barrels out of, you get 100 barrels of oil, 12.5 will go to government. So that's what it means. There is 12% which goes to that. Then there is UNOC, which you have talked about. Uganda decided that we would have our own company. Apart from these taxes and what, we would have our own company, as I told you, which is commercial, which is a private company that will engage. So every company that comes to invest in oil, Uganda government has pays its shares into that company. For example, if Total comes here and invests $100 million. Uganda says we will pay 15% of that investment. That is 15 million. We would raise that money so that we have a share in your company. We will have a share. You'll remain with 85%. Uganda, will own 15%. So that is that. It is the commercial arm of Uganda. So is your company. You are represented, but it is yours. As I mentioned, it's 100% owned by government, and it handles the state's commercial interest in the petroleum subsector. It has 15% shares and profits in all oil investments in the upstream segment. It gets 15% of the investors' cost oil and profit oil. Now, these are a little bit technical for you, but later when you are sufficiently interested, I can explain. They're going to raise the 15 to 20% in the future, and the new companies that are going to come in the next few months and years, it will not be 15. Now it will be 20. And as we go on, it may get to 30, 40, and so on. Once it is capitalized and gains money, every time somebody comes to invest, they will say, now, if you are bringing 100 million, we are contributing 20% of your share, so that we have a stake in your company. So that if we have the same stake of investment, that means we have the same stake in the profits as well. All proceeds are to go to the petroleum fund, and I'm going to share something about that. Their operation costs as a company are approved by Parliament, and they come from Ministry of Finance. They don't use the money they collect from all these companies. When they get the money, they bank it on a company on the petroleum fund. Their operation costs are approved by Parliament, and they go through discussion in Parliament. The same way URA is. When URA collects money, they don't collect and use part of what they collect. No. All they collect goes to the consolidated fund. When they want money for salaries, administrative costs, and what, they come to Ministry of Finance, which presents a budget to Parliament. Parliament approves their budget for that year, and that money is given to URA to use for their salaries, administrative expenses, and so on. So the same way, is like that. Although it's a private company, commercially operating, but it does not have a leeway to use this oil money the way they want. That is very good safeguard, so that their budget is regulated, and for them, whatever they are collecting commercial, for example, now as they import oil, whatever they import now, the profits that are made, it goes directly into the petroleum fund. These are some of the safeguards Uganda has put in place to ensure that oil does not become a curse, that it is a blessing. And so for us, these were the questions we're asking. So that when we understand it, then we can speak authoritatively. Finally, when you make any profits, including when makes a profit, it also pays taxes. And our taxes are 30%. Whether rent, we own, our family owns some estate, but we pay taxes. Our church owns some rental premises and shops. When we get rent, we pay 30% as tax. So this tax will also apply to oil. So Uganda government charges taxes on all business done in Uganda, including oil. So when you combine these taxes, loyalty, it translates into the fact that every barrel that is sold, Uganda will get 71%. A barrel at the moment is about $75. If Uganda gets 71% of that, it means Uganda will get $53.25 every barrel. A barrel is 159 liters. So that means in Uganda, because we've taken a lot of time and we've been slow to ensure that before everything is done, a law is passed. It goes into discussion, and then there are experts. Then we consult. Then we send people to benchmark. Before anything is concluded, then a law has been set in place. Petroleum Authority, Ministry of Energy have done their part, and they have burned their midnight candle. So the process has been slow because of that, to ensure that it's transparency, to ensure that it is built on a firm foundation. And so this shocked other nations like Nigerians. Nigerians and Ghanaians have been here recently, and they were just shocked about this because for them, maybe because they hurried, they didn't know what to do. They are now benchmarking on Uganda, who hasn't even started producing oil yet. We haven't yet started, yet they looked at the governance structure and they were very impressed, and they're now going back to implement some of these things in their own countries. And so that's the issue at the moment. Now, the revenue management, as I said, that when money comes from that oil, it will be banked on the petroleum fund. This receives all the revenue, and its account is in Bank of Uganda. So just like taxes, when they come out of taxes, they are banked on the bank account. That's the same thing with the oil company. With the petroleum funds. Now, the key issue about this petroleum fund, it is established by an act of parliament, which is called, it's managed by the Public Management Act of 2015. And only parliament has the power to expropriate it, meaning it is the one which has power to discuss and agree which amount of money is going to be withdrawn, where is it going to be used. But again, it was also agreed that it will only be used on infrastructure and sovereign fund. Only two things. Infrastructure means it can only be used, for example, on building roads. It cannot be used on paying salaries. It cannot be used in intelligence. It cannot be used for school salaries or medicine. It can only be used in infrastructure development and sovereign fund. Sovereign fund is investment for future generation. Since we borrowed money from the future, it means we have to plant and then send that money back into the future. I don't know that it makes sense. The next generation are those children who are not yet born, are the people, our children and grandchildren who are not yet here. If as a nation we borrow, that means we've taken wealth from our great-grandchildren, that by the time they come of age, they find that we borrowed money which they keep paying. So the reasoning is that now that we have taken a lot from them, we should also plan to give them back. This is a biblical principle which is good, because the Bible says a righteous man leaves an inheritance for his children's children, meaning we should always invest in the next generation. Wickedness steals from the next generation. When we overborrow and overindulge, we end up leaving nothing as for our next generation. So one of the key principles involved here is that this oil should be invested in something that will benefit the next generation, from whom much has been borrowed to establish this particular sector. And so money should be given back to them. I'm sure all of us would appreciate that is a very good idea and principle. And then number 4, that's the investment. This money, because we want to enrich the next generation, should only be invested in secure investments. It means you have to be very sure that it is invested in a venture that is not doubtable, that's not questionable. It should be sure deal, not something that's like startups and all that. No, it can only be invested in something which is already working, which is on a solid ground. So that is the petroleum fund. And for us, we were able to get all this. This is my summary. I try to put it in layman's language. You know, when it was presented to us, we had 3 days. And in these 3 days, we had a lot of discussion. But this is a summary I'm just putting here to make it simple for anybody who is not a mathematician, who is not a finance person, to be able to appreciate. The last one is the local content. Local content means it answers this question. How does the local person, this woman in the village, this man in the village, how does he profit in this oil? How does she, this woman in the village, benefit from this oil? So they call it the local content. Local content means that the people locally are going to participate and benefit in the whole sector. So it was agreed that every, let me put a picture here to explain this a little bit more for you to understand this. That's 21 activities are ring-fenced services for local leaders. Here, it is here. Okay. So what you see here are layers. So the local content means that the people locally, Ugandans, will engage in the oil sector. How? When it comes to transportation, Ugandans have trucks. So you cannot hire a foreign company from Kenya, from UK to transport anything. So it has to be a Ugandan company. That is what the authority handles, Petroleum Authority. It handles that to check who is doing your transportation. Show us the books to show us that you are using a Ugandan company to transport whatever you want to transport, because Ugandans can transport. How about security? It has to be Ugandan security. Who supplies your food and beverages? When these oil companies first came, their standards were so high, Ugandans were not able to provide. So they were importing eggs from South Africa, from Brazil, because they were saying, oh, for us, we want this standard and so on. So when the Petroleum Authority was established, they said, no, we cannot accept that. You have to buy Ugandan food. You raise the standard and we'll get the Ugandan companies to do that. And now it's now established. You cannot buy food from Kenya, from South Africa, from Brazil. No, it has to be a Ugandan company. How about hotels and accommodation and catering? All those have to be Ugandans. How about human resource management? Ugandans are there to manage office supplies, fuel supplies, land survey. These are all Ugandans doing all these activities, clearing and forwarding, crane hire. They have crane machines because there's a lot that is going on. locally available construction materials. You cannot import those from outside. Civil works, supply of production materials, environmental studies and impact assessment. These must be done by Ugandans. Communications and information technology services, waste management, where possible. There are areas where Ugandans cannot and they don't have expertise there. There we can get foreigners, but this, so you can see the list. Preferences to goods produced and available in Uganda and services rendered by Ugandan entities, so on. So what you see in black must be provided by Ugandans. The next one in blue, that is, they are a little bit tricky. They require a lot of money, which Ugandans may not have. But if you come as a foreign company, you must have a Ugandan counterpart. So if you come in as a company from Kenya, from New Zealand, from Norway, from Europe, you must have a Ugandan as a shareholder. This is the work of the Petroleum Authority. This is what they do to regulate the sector. They cannot, they cannot license you. It is the authority that approves, and this company has met the requirements. They have a Ugandan. He has this much stake. Now this company can come in with their billions of shillings or millions of dollars to do what you see in the blue. That part of the blue is a little bit technical and it requires a lot of capital that Ugandans may not have, but a Ugandan must own some shares there. So in which case, a Ugandan company or Ugandans are benefiting. The ones in red are way beyond us as Ugandans. That one, it's allowed for a foreign company to come in and solely invest without any Ugandan company. For example, refinery, we don't have anybody who has that kind of money. We don't have it. The expertise needed there, too technical, we've not gotten to that. So those are the three layers when it comes to the local content. So I want you to acquaint yourself, brethren. We cannot pray in ignorance. If you are ignorant of certain things, you will always believe propaganda. You will hear this and hear that and hear that. For me, for a long time, I was hearing, oh, our oil is being ferried in the night and taken. I had believed it all that long until we went down. And we saw all these oil wells one by one. We drove there, we saw it. We understood at close range. We saw that when they explore these wells, they find a well, somebody is ready to invest the money because it's very expensive. One of the most expensive ventures is this oil sector. It requires a lot of money. So the company comes and starts to drill. And when they drill, they find the oil, then they put in the pipes, the necessary infrastructure, and then they lock it. They don't start to drill to get out the oil. They don't extract it. They just put the pipes in place and then the tanks where to go to fix it, and then they lock it. Then they go to another place. That company is only hired to do that. Nobody has been able to take out oil. These companies have been given license to just do that. They go in, drill up to the place where they find the oil, because that oil is very deep. It's in meters, kilometers deep. So they put in the infrastructure and then they lock it. So they say, they mark this one oil, we have found it. When the time comes to start to get oil, then we'll only unscrew this and then oil will start to flow. So all that they do is to go, drill, put in then they move to another, then they move to, so that's what they're doing now. They need to have enough of the wells and then connect them because that connection hasn't been done now, but they have found a well here, they have put the pipes, they go to another, then they will connect all of those, and then when the drilling starts, then it starts to flow. Now that's what majority of the public cannot understand. So they think, what are they doing all this time? Why they keep postponing to the next time, the next level, the next? So for us, we were able to go there and we saw and we understood that you have to have this in place first because it's a very expensive venture. You cannot allow, you can't just start and say, take jerrycan. It doesn't happen like that. So this is what is going on at the moment. So this is the local content. So for us, these 5 issues were very important. Four issues were very important. And we were able to understand at close range, as I've outlined them here, in a layman's language so that you can understand what is going on. In the management, how is government, the governance structure, how is it been structured? Second, what is it that we'll get? Are we not going to get a cash? For me, that question was very, very important to know that we'll be getting 71% of every barrel that leaves the ground. To me, that was a big, big, big thing. And all of us, majority, all of us, we are saying, this is something that we need to appreciate. At least government has been transparent in the process, maybe slow, but at least it is worth it, rather than hurrying, get the oil and we lose it. The third is that management of the proceeds. We thought that was good. Now, if the government at a in time may mismanage, but at least the structure is there. Let me put it this way. Suppose the current government does not manage it well, but still the structure is there that tomorrow, if another government comes to power and says, no, this fund will only, okay, the laws, we have put them in place, it goes to the same fund. Maybe the last government did not invest it well, but for us, we're going to invest it better. At least the structure is there and it is transparent, and everybody, every Ugandan can now know how much money came out of oil, and this is what is there. To me, that was very key. The current parliament may vote wrongly and say, let's put it here, let's put it there, but at least there is a transparent manner in which this fund is going to be managed. And also the local content really pleased us very well, because when we went to the ground, we were able to see all that. Even yesterday, I was able to see a Ugandan company, an engineer, a young man who has a company there, and he told me, I'm here. I said, hey, you are the rich people. He said, yeah, I came here. I'm working. I checked on him. I said, we came here last year, 1 year ago. We wanted to be sure that the local content is for it. He said, yeah, the Petroleum Authority is very, very strict when it comes to the local content. They must employ us. They must give us opportunity. So we are very, very happy. And we are really doing our work, and it's me now to raise capital. My challenge is that I don't have enough capital. I would be involved in so many others, but I'm limited. I'm a mechanical engineer. I finished my degree, and I came and started, and the jobs are all over the place. We have a lot of jobs here, only that we sometimes lack capital. So that is what is going on in as far as that is concerned. Now, I want to mention a few other things in line with this. For example, the issue of the airport. What government did was to set aside land to build an airport, because where you have oil, a lot of business is going to take place. The airport is now more than 95% finished. This one I did last year. This slide was last year. They're going to build a refinery. They haven't started, but they are in the final stages of negotiation. You heard about that Saudi Prince, Arab Prince, who is going to build the refinery. And then there will be a delivery point. So all these pumps, all these oil wells are going to pump all the oil to that delivery point, that pump station. They're building it now, the one I've told you about, that all the wells now, which I've just, where they have already fixed the pipes in the ground, they're ready to be connected to this pump station. This will be so key because all of it will come to that place and then be pumped into the refinery. Then the rest of it will be sent out into the pipeline, and then it will go to be sold as crude oil. Then there will be, I'll say something more about that. And then there is this refinery. What does it mean? When you get a refinery, oil is amazing. Apart from the petrol and diesel and paraffin, every single thing that comes out of oil is used. It is not wasted. You have a petrochemical industry which produces so many tarmac, Vaseline, so many products that it's a whole so many industries come out of that once you have a refinery. That's why they have been fighting, the foreigners have been fighting this refinery so much. The president insisted that we must have a refinery of our own and we must have it here. So it has, they fought and government said, no, we cannot accept it. It must be here and it will be built here in Uganda and we must manage it as Ugandans. And so that is one of the delays because they made sure that it is this park, they have called it this park is intended to be the petrochemical industrial park, using all the refinery products as input. So the whole land is free. It hasn't even been parceled out. It is going to be parceled out, and all Ugandans are free to apply. You apply, they allocate land. You indicate which industry you're going to build, just like an industrial park, and it's next to the airport. We saw the airport. It's a modern airport, much more modern than Entebbe Airport. It will handle the heaviest, including these Antonovs, these huge, because it will be bringing in these refinery machines. It's very big. It can handle any weight. Entebbe Airport and runways cannot handle many of those aeroplanes. So that's how it has been built to handle that industry. So it will host heavy, medium, and light industries. It will be handling commercial and residential areas and also agro-processing facilities in that place. So there's a very big industrial area that has been set aside. Government bought that land and it is lying there waiting for the right time, and it will be managed by UNOC. UNOC, which is the commercial company, will manage that. Approval of leases, or you're going to build this, you're going to build that, you license you, but the Petroleum Authority will license you to build once the refinery has been finished. Okay, the airport is about 30 square kilometers, and to handle that, it is now at the moment, it does not handle passenger terminal yet. It will just handle cargo to build the refinery. And it had been hoped that it would be commissioned last year. There were delays because money was not available. So because all this requires a lot of money. Now let me say something about the refinery, the information that we got. The refinery will have a capacity of 60,000 barrels. I change it into liters because for us, we don't understand barrels. I said each barrel is 159 liters. So that means you are talking about 9.5 million liters of oil per day. This is what the refinery will handle. 9.5 million liters of oil per day is to be developed in that place. That's massive. That is big. It is really big. And Hoima district. The project includes a 211-kilometer multi-product pipeline to Mpigi. So they are building another pipeline, not the other main one, which is going to take crude oil. This one will take finished products. Because Hoima is far, they're going to build a tank in Mpigi to supply Kampala. Later, they'll build another one in Mbarara, in Gulu, and Arua. Those are storage terminals. Mpigi, Mbarara, Gulu, Arua, they will be storage terminals. From Hoima to Mpigi, it will be 211 kilometers. They're already working on that. The land in Mpigi is already bought. So when the refinery is finally ready, which is about now 2027, this is 2024, it will take another 3 years to really finish the refinery. So now it will be the fuel, the petrol, diesel, kerosene will come to Mpigi, where all the business people will be buying it, and then will be selling it in their petrol stations. Its estimated cost will be about 4 billion, and it is highly profitable venture with internal rate of return. I'm talking about now the refinery. The refinery, the financials know some of these terms. Rate of return is about 15%, and the data tenure is 7 years. Land is already secured. Public sector-led project with UNOC is currently holding 100% equity. UNOC is taking a center stage in all this because it's a commercial arm. Expected benefit, it will impact on our GDP, capital formation. These are figures that are mainly for the people in finance. They understand what we are talking about, how this will impact our economy in a massive way. It will be transformational. The moment everything is ready, it will employ, the refinery alone will employ 32,000 people and more, because later it will be expanded. So this is what it is. This is the refinery. But then there is the pipeline, which is different from the refinery. The refinery is 1,443 kilometers long, and 24 inch. This is 2 feet diameter. It will be heated from here to Tanzania. It will transport crude oil from the Tilenga and Kingfisher projects to the Indian Ocean port of Tanga and Tanzania. The Ugandan part is only 300 kilometers. The rest, 1,100 kilometers in Tanzania. So Uganda has already had paid majority of the people in the corridor where it is going to pass, and it's estimated to cost 5 billion. Uganda has already paid. It has a share in it. 3 shareholders are in this pipeline. Uganda is one of them, and through UNOC, then Chinese, then Total. So it is not owned by Uganda alone. It's owned by Chinese, Sinopec, and then Total. So the land acquisition is in progress, but Uganda has given their 308 million share contribution to build this ECOP. This is the pipeline. It goes through 10 districts, as you see them: Hoima, Chikuve, Kakumiro, Mubende, Kyankwanzi, Gomba, Luengo, Sembabule, Kyotera, and Rakai. That is the reason we are here, because the people who are against this whole thing have started paying these young people to start demonstrating against this process here. Because once Uganda starts to do this, it is a threat. You know, although we were many times we were misled to understand Libya's issue. Libya, Gaddafi in particular, with all his weaknesses in as far as political governance is concerned, if you graduated in Libya, you'd get a free house, you'd get a salary, because they were producing their own oil and they were selling it. Libya had managed its oil so well, and Libya was one of the richest countries in Africa. That's why Gaddafi could do whatever he did. He was able to mobilize the whole of Africa, and his problem started when he told Africans, let's do our own thing. Let's get off the gold, the dollar, produce our own currency, and then we start to do our own thing. United States of Africa. That was the biggest problem. So they had to come in and get him out. So the bombing and all that wasn't purely a clear motive. When Africans wanted to intervene to arbitrate, they refused and had to remove him because the oil he had was a lot. Look at what is Libya now. Libya is now in shambles. Even those who are fighting him that time now are regretting because now Libya has gone just like Somalia, a failed state. One group is here, another group is here, another group is there. This is something that we Africans need to know. For those who doubt and you have some time to read, you need to read the book written by a certain man. It's called Hitman. Something, what is the name? I've forgotten the name, but Economic Hitman. You can Google that name. It will tell you and show you how these Western countries come to sabotage projects like this. It's not that they are perfect. There could be some mistakes or some small mistakes, but the general principle is good. The reason we are here is to talk to the religious leaders and cultural leaders to embrace some of these projects and ensure they stop our young men from being used. So they are given $2, $5. They come with placards. We are fighting this oil, the pipeline, for no good reason. They don't even understand what they are shouting. Said, petroleum brings cancer. For example, that's what some of them were saying. When all these, petrol we are using and diesel for all these years. So these are NGOs which are foreign funded, and they are trying to sabotage. When President Museveni first came in, this road from Mubende to Kampala, we didn't have money. So what he did was to tell the Yugoslav people, Enago, said, we'll give you beans, come and build for us a road. Some of you remember that. It was a major, major issue. The West came in, how do you go take us back to battling? Butter was when you had cows, had a cow, I'd exchange it with goats. How do you take us back into doing that? This is so you can see they don't want us to use the resources. They want us to be dependent on them and become slaves. Anyway, the time is not enough here. This ECOP, this pipeline will transport 216 barrels. I want you to see that. 216 barrels, that is 34 million liters per day. That is the ability that it has, and it will be able to transport it. Now, why do we take that crude oil? Because our refinery will produce 9.5 million barrels a day, but we only use 6. The 3.5 we will sell in the region. Later on, we'll expand. If we are only using 6 million, if you refine all of it, you'll have massive quantities of it, which we cannot. Trying to sell it and transport it in finished products is very, very expensive and it's not viable. So the whole idea is that out of the production we make, only 60,000 barrels, that is 9.5 million, will be produced by the refinery. The rest will go as crude every single day, and it will be sold because it's cheaper then. That's how the pipeline comes in. The pipeline takes the crude, which is not being able to be refined. It will take the remainder because it's cheaper to send it out, to take it by pipe, and you sell it as crude than when you make it as a finished product. It will be so costly for you to sell it in that form, in the finished products, and it will not be viable because you put in a lot of cost. So that is the question that many people ask: why do we need to sell crude oil? It is because it's the balance after we have produced what we need and the region has enough of it. Enough of what we need for the region has been produced, and the rest has to be taken as crude. I don't want to know whether any one of you has a question for now, but I thought I would give you some information. Just in case our time is done, but in case you have a question or two, you You can ask them, and then I can answer a bit of that tomorrow. Back to you, Bishop.
Thank you so much, Bishop. Our time is up. Tomorrow is Thursday, and we have our Bible class at 7:30. Time is up. Let's have the questions, because we know many would love to know more about what Bishop has shared with us. We are grateful for this light, because a lot of rumors go ahead. Some say it is already used, it's already exploited, it's already what. But we thank you for that effort as our representative. And we believe this truth will go across. Instead of a curse, that we shall have a blessing. We really want to thank God. Let's close. Loving Father, great are you.
There's a comment from Fiona, maybe just to read it for us.
Yes.
There's a comment from Sister Fiona, maybe just to clarify. Thank you.
If you have a company.
Yes.
So if you, look, how does it start? It starts, the Petroleum Authority has been putting out many calls for local companies to be registered. They created an online portal, and every supplier is being encouraged to apply and be listed, so that there is a repository of pre-approved companies who will be suppliers. The requirements are reasonable. At any office, we have managed to register. So if you have a company, I encourage you to apply. Yes.
And then there's the first one. The prices of fuel have fallen since this year when UNOC took over the importation of fuel from about 5,700 to now 5,200, and it's going to continue falling, because as you heard the minister telling these companies that if you were importing at this and we are giving you this oil at this price, why are you still? So they are going to start to crack the whip. So that those are some of the benefits when good policies are in place, as this has put pressure on the other traditional companies, i.e. Total and Shell. This could be a very good early indicator of what we should expect in the future. Thank you so much, Fiona. That is very, very good information. I really want you people to engage, because you cannot trade in lies and ignorance. Many people sometimes just lag behind because of lack of information, but also the propaganda is too much. Sometimes for me, before I went, my eyes were greatly opened. For example, there are areas I've not covered here about the Petroleum Institute in Kigumba. I will talk about that. And then a few other things. The infrastructure that has already been put in place is worth billions and billions, training our own people to handle petroleum, to be able to handle everything. That institute is there, is operating, and it's open to everybody. Your children can go there and study and become part. There's so many other things but let me wait for those questions. You can send them on WhatsApp or some information like what Fiona is giving us here. When people don't know, for example, there's people who have capital here in Kampala and other places. There is a very profitable opportunity in the oil region there. The things that you can do there are massive. This refinery where it's going to be built, you had better go apply for land and build something, and you start, because Jerry's, Tamak, Onogotwita colas, all that comes from oil, and we'll be producing our own colas. Can you imagine what will happen when we're producing? Because we are buying all of it now. We buy all of it. Every Tamak you see, we are driving our vehicles. It is all imported, and imported in dollars, very expensive. We'll have our own, and so many other things. We'll go through them. But that is the information that is important for people to understand. And for you as intercessors, I feel it is important you have knowledge, because when you don't, you engage in so much propaganda, lies, and what. You don't want to be part of that. You want to be in a progressive kind of attitude where government has done wrong, we tell them this is wrong. But where they have done good, we should appreciate them. Give credit where credit is due. That's it.
Very true. So, Saints, let's have our questions ready for tomorrow. Trusting tomorrow, 7:30 p.m. You'll join us. We use the same link so that we can go more deeper in the acquisition of this information. Thank you, Fiona. May God bless you. Let's pray. Mighty God, again, we come to thank you for your goodness. You are a good God that plans ahead of us. Thank you for giving us this oil. And thank you for the efforts of your servants that have, instead of having a curse, are doing their best, that as a nation will benefit. We continue to pray for this. And even as we've been crying to you against this corruption, Father, it is possible to have a nation corruption-free. Father, bless each and every one as we proceed through the week. We continue to ask you, even replenish and bless your servant who has been a blessing in equipping us with the knowledge that comes from you. We bless your name and we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.